My name's Ryan, and this is my video out. So I came out a few times. There was this boy in high school. I was a senior, he was a freshman. And we just sort of clicked. Like I had never acknowledged gay feelings before, but even though in hindsight I had actually I had fooled around with other guys. I had done things that were very clearly gay. But it was the first time there was an emotional attraction. And so we were just like messaging back and forth. And by messaging, I mean writing notes, because that's what you did when I was in high school. And I just remember getting these like excited feelings, and I wanted to tell somebody, but I didn't have the courage to say it in person. I didn't have the courage to say it to someone that I was super close with. So there was a girl who was in the same sort of group of friends who I wasn't very close with, but we were friendly, and we had each other's AOL screen names. So one night I typed an email to her, and then before I clicked send, I sent her an instant message, and I said, I'm going to send you an email. I was like, I don't want to talk about it right now, but I have something to tell you. And so I clicked send, went to bed. And I honestly don't remember the end of that storyline. But as soon as it was out, it was something it was sort of freeing. But it wasn't something that I ever felt held down by. Once I realized that I had these attractions, I was fine with them. But I came out as bisexual for the first 8 months maybe. The attractions began, I think, January of my senior year of high school. And so she was the first person I told. Then I told a few friends, and I was telling other friends. And then I had asked my mom to go into my backpack and get my work schedule. And I don't know if it was later that day or the next day, I got a voicemail from her, and it just said, "Hey Rye, it's Mom. I just want you to know I love you no matter what." And I was like, oh, she knows. So I grabbed my best friend Erin, and I took her into one of the practice rooms, and I played her the message, and I said, "My mom knows." And so I called her back. She was at work, and her biggest fear was me getting hurt. She was like, "I don't care. I just don't want you to get hurt," which felt like just a very paternal thing. I think knowing my mom, it's something she would have said if I was in a serious relationship or having these feelings with a woman. And so then the rest of senior year, and nothing really ever happened between this guy and I. There were flirtations, but he was also a freshman and coming to terms with his own situation. His family was very religious. And even now, he and I are not in touch, but Facebook tells me that he's still not totally living that lifestyle. So that's how I came out to friends, then my mom, then my dad. I had a friend over, a guy. We had been in another friend's house. This was the summer after I graduated from high school, and we had been drinking. So instead of him driving very far, we drove back to my house. And he was sleeping in my bed, but we were dressed. Nothing had happened between us. Nothing ever happened between us, for the record. And my dad came up to wake me up for work, and he didn't know. My mom and I sort of made a conscious decision to let me come to terms with it before I was ready to tell him, because I knew that it would be a harder conversation. And I heard him coming up the stairs, and I remember being like, here goes nothing. And he came into my bedroom and then left. So then we woke up, my friend left, and then my dad came up, and my dad, he and I did not have the best relationship in high school. To where we are now, it's night and day, but he didn't know how to articulate things, and so he just said, "Are you queer?" And I sort of in that moment knew that I could say no and sort of keep denying it, or say yes and just let it be out there. So I said yes. He said okay and walked away. And we didn't speak for a few days, I think. And my mom and I spoke about it during that time, that he was sort of processing it. But he also never had an issue with it. And he had met boyfriends. I remember when I knew that Mark and I were getting close to being engaged, I wanted to make sure that he met my dad. He'd already met my mom. She had come to New York to visit. And it was like he was fine. There was no weirdness. He was almost a little too comfortable with him. And then the last piece of it is, I told you I came out in pieces. The last piece of it is freshman year, first semester of college. There was this girl who everyone thought that she and I should have sex, because that's what friends do in college. And so we went into a dark room, and people started throwing condoms in the room, and she was a bigger girl, and she was on top of me, and I felt like she was choking me with her tongue, and also that I felt suffocated, but I think it was more of an emotional suffocation. And so I pushed her off, and I just started screaming through the frat house, I'm gay, I'm gay, 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 gay. So then I went out into my car, and this was like 1:30 in the morning, and just started calling people, left voicemails, and again, it's like that moment where I knew, just like when I first sort of came to terms with it in the same way, I was like, I knew. And I think what helped me was that before I even came out as bi, so many people knew, like my family knew. So then when I finally came out as gay, I think everyone just let me have those 8 months as I always said bisexuality was like the gateway drug to homosexuality. It was like my safe space. And so it was no surprise. And then I lived my life. I did go to a Catholic school for college. And I remember a priest who was a professor, who we were very close. We had done community theater, sort of encouraging me to go back into the closet, because I was out when I got to college. And I think I tried a little bit, but I also didn't know how to. And that was the only time sort of in the early phases of it that I felt like someone wanted me to be somebody different. But I didn't really go back into the closet. I slept with my RA. And here I am, out. I still had, in that time, relationships with women. And they were never, I never had a sexual relationship with a woman, but I still had feelings for them. I still had the giddiness that I want to spend time with you. I want to just, you and I go out to dinner. And I enjoyed them in a way that was so unique to that time. I still have relationships with women that we do go to dinner, we go to drinks, we go to the movies, and it's clearly platonic. And back then some people have asked if I thought that I was sort of forcing myself into the situations. And no, and I remember one time when one of the girls found out that I had hooked up with a guy, she wasn't comfortable, and it sort of broke my heart. But I think in hindsight, I don't know if it was because I was being denied something because of who I was, or if I actually had feelings for her. Probably a little bit of both. Take your time. There's no rush. There's no rush. I think if you know and you want to shout it, go shout it. If you are scared, sort of let yourself be scared, and if there's a safe person to talk to them to sort of help unpack what it is, or to sort of work through it. I think the internet is such an awesome resource. We didn't we had a computer growing up, but it was the family computer, and it was in the middle of the living room. So I didn't really have the internet as a resource to work through the feelings that I was having. And now everyone has a computer in their pockets. So it's like there are communities of people out there that you should just tap into. And I don't even know if chat rooms are still a thing. Are they? I don't know. Because I also I remember AOL chat rooms. They were a place that I could go and not necessarily ask questions, but just sort of be who I thought I was and talk to other people who were going through similar things.
Maybe Reddit is the thing now.
I don't know.
Facebook groups.
Or download one of the apps and remain anonymous on it, but use it to talk to people. Find a way to talk to people who are going through similar things as you in an anonymous way until you feel comfortable. That is just my advice. It's not professional advice, but take your time. I think so many people who stand in opposition to the community think that their opposition is my problem. It's your problem. But the number of people whose minds I've seen change because their brother came out as gay, or their son, or their nephew, or their daughter, or their sister, or once you have that personal connection, for the most part, I've found that people are willing to be more open. There was a relative who was not going to come to our wedding, and who sort of Mark and I weren't even going to invite. We were just going to put his wife's name on the invitation. And that sort of started to tear my mom up. It started to tear my relative up. And so I would say mostly for the sake of keeping the peace, we invited him. And you could see his mind changed instantly. I think love is so cliche at this point, but it's so true. I think he saw that what Mark and I were going through was so similar to what he and his wife had gone through and what he had seen so many straight couples go through. Our wedding wasn't rainbows and glitter. It was an expression of love. We were saying things that heterosexual people say all the time. We were just both wearing suits. I think even at 33, I am still coming to terms with being comfortable with myself. Nothing to do with my sexuality, just to do with who I am as a person and the struggles that I struggle with. And so it's always been a safety net that has turned into something so authentic, I think, that I'm always proud of myself when I can champion other people. I will believe in someone else before I believe in myself sometimes. And I usually get to, be proud of myself versus believe in myself through that. But if your back is worth having, I will always have your back. No, wait, we can't use that part. Let me think about that.